Hi guys, this is Andy from Where Wild Ones Roam. In this video, we're going to talk about our top 5 tips for long road trips. Now, when I'm defining a long road trip, to me, that's like 6 hours, 8 hours of a long drive. That could be that long drive stacked over a couple days if you just have to kind of crush through it and get across the country for an event, or just that's just what your goal is. That's fine too. Now, a lot of these tips are definitely aimed for RVing, as that is our main focus here, but they will all work if you're doing just a car trip and you're trying to get from point A to point B, you're looking for some good tips. First tip I'm going to talk about is know your route. Now, you can start by just plugging your route into Google Maps and getting from point A to point B, and a lot of people will do that. However, there's some things I want to point out that you might need to take into consideration. So one is, if you're in an RV, Google Maps is not always the best route to take. Sometimes they can take you on roads you don't want to go down. Sometimes you might be overweight, you might be too big, too tall. There are lots of variables. So check with a RV type GPS or an RV app that is designed to make sure the route it's taking you on is safe for your type of rig. Tip number 2 is around vehicle prep. This is something I love doing it the day before. You can do it the morning of, but that can add some anxiety on my part. So the day before is something I aim for. So some of the top things on my list for vehicle prep is going to be filling up. So I like starting my trip with a full tank. I don't want to start halfway and then stop really quickly to get gas. Like if you just start with a full tank, you can almost get to lunch, if not further, typically, before you need gas again. It's also extremely important to make sure all of your tires are ready for this type of trip. Make sure they've got air in them, make sure they're holding air. You don't want to be in the middle of nowhere and have any tire issues. Another one is we make sure we have everything we need downloaded. This is a pretty big list. It'll extend from music and movies to keep kids busy or the wife busy in the passenger seat. But it also can be for maps. It can be for campground reservations. It can be where you're going. Depending on what kind of place you're going to, they may or may not have signal. So be prepared in that sense. Also on my list is making sure our GPS is set up and ready to go. And I'll make sure the address is put in there and that route makes sense or is matching the one I went over before, to know kind of how we're going to get to where we're going. So that's a great thing to have set up before you even get started. And then last thing, especially if you haven't done a trip recently, is make sure everything else is in line. Insurance cards, roadside assistance numbers, your emergency kit all in hand, anything you might possibly need that you don't kind of normally have packed in your vehicle. Now's a great time to kind of double check and make sure it's all there. My third tip is about my fuel and meal plan. Now this is a little bit tied to the first one about along your route. To me, that's very high level, making sure I take, Route 80 versus 55 through Nevada and really, which direction am I going? This takes it down to the next level. And where do we plan on stopping and getting fuel? In some places it's very remote, and that really does need to be planned out. Second thing we like to do is make sure we also know where we're going to stop for our meals. Okay, tip number 4 is going to be weather aware. If you are going somewhere that's hundreds of miles away, the weather is going to be, or at least can be, different. We have left weather that has been about 0 degrees, and within 3 or 4 hours, we have been in 60-degree weather with ice and snow dripping off of everything possible. So here are a few apps we use that helps us kind of keep track of this and make sure we're weather aware the entire time. My first app of choice is called Radar Omega. It's definitely more on the nerdy scientific side than anything else, but it's a very detailed weather app. The second one, which my wife loves, is Weather on the Way. You can plug in where you are, you can plug in where you're going, and it'll tell you the weather along the way. It's a great name. The last app I suggest is Carrot, and this is a really good, just generic, everyday kind of weather app, but it is loaded with features and got tons of different settings and preferences. You can really make it your own. All right, and tip number 5 is going to be have a couple of backup options. We have had so many travel days that for some reason or another, never something in our control, the plans have changed. That could be a mechanical issue where you're stuck somewhere for a couple hours and you have to pivot. It could be road closures, it could be weather, it could just, who knows, it could be kids screaming and you're just like, I can't do this today. We're taking an extra day. So what do you guys do to plan for long road trips when you're planning? We'd love to know in the comments below if you have any more great tips and tricks you can share with this great community. All right, guys, thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you on the road. Bye.